Hello friends! Today I'm going to be taking you on a tour of a few of my favorite spots in Konya, the Mevlana tomb, the bazaars around Mevlana, a couple of museums, and a Konya delicacy. Enjoy! You'll find these fountains in the mosques and the cemeteries all over Turkey. From what I've heard, the water is clean enough from all of these to drink, which cannot be said for the tap water in Turkey. I'm not quite sure how they manage this feat. However, you'll see plenty of people filling up water jugs and bottles, as well as drinking straight from the fountain, which I did in this fountain, as well as cleaning their feet before or after going to the mosque. Before entering Mevlana's tomb, you have to put on these little booties to protect the ancient tile work. A small price to pay, although they do make walking quite slippery. From the second you step into the building, you are surrounded by religious art. You've got these beautiful illuminated scripts, I believe they'd be called, all over the walls. This is just the entryway. And here's some of that tile work that we're meant to preserve by wearing little plastic booties. Again, just an overwhelming amount of art and beauty everywhere. And each of these, I'll call them sarcophagi, hold Mevlana's family and disciples and associates. Here we approach Mevlana's tomb. Everywhere the walls are covered in richness, touches of gold. What seemed overwhelming before goes to the next level. I found it very difficult to walk away completely. I would turn away and then turn back and turn away and turn back just to stand there. The air is different. There's a palpable presence all around. If you know me well, you know that my life has been touched by Rumi in ways that I can't even describe. His poetry has helped me through incredibly dark times and has planted seeds of enlightenment and expansion in my soul. And I felt something being there, something indescribable. There are plenty of tourists and people going there to take pictures at the tomb, but there are just as many who are there praying, with their palms turned up, prayer books open on their laps, eyes closed, and that sense of reverence, it changes the texture of the air. For me, at least. It's the same thing I encountered in India, where it's a land full of people who are praying so often. And this happens in Turkey too. You hear the mosques call for prayer 5 times a day. And as annoying as I am beginning to find that call to prayer, there is still something about it that lends a different texture to the entire experience. Here, outside the Mevlana Jami and the Mevlana Museum, Museum. This is the museum behind me that you see. And then the Jami, which is a mosque. I've just gone through the museum, as I'm sure you'll either see after this part of the video or before. The depending on how I edit. I did not want to record inside. For one thing, it was very crowded, and for another, it's a holy place. People were praying and spending time with Rumi. This is where Rumi is interred, as well as many other Sufi devotees, I suppose. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Sufi devotees. Yeah, pretty incredible place inside and outside. The architecture and the artwork in this particular part of Turkey, very impressive. And I have a particular place in my heart for Rumi, as I know many of us do. His work has helped me through many, many dark places and opened up a lot inside of me that wouldn't have been opened without his words being planted as seeds. I was in Bodrum when my most recent experience of this happened. I believe it was the day after my birthday or possibly the day before, and I was laying on my yoga mat thinking about stuff, as I am wont to do in Shavasana, and suddenly 3 lines, the closing lines of the second poem of his that I had ever memorized, dropped into my heart from my head and suddenly made a new particular kind of sense and just like cracked me open. And I was laying there crying and laughing uncontrollably as this new knowledge was gifted to me. And that has happened many times with his poems. When I came back from India, I went through a really hard time with my mind in particular, and I started memorizing Rumi poetry because a very good friend had given me a book, and before I went to India, but it wasn't until I got back that I really opened it and read it. So yeah, I started reciting poetry so that when my mind started going on overdrive, I could bring up one of these poems and recite that instead of all the hateful and hamster wheel bullshit that I had been reciting to myself, creating these spells inside of my head that just kept me trapped. So Rumi was there for that, and in the memorization of the poetry, the words were planted in me. And with that planting, they grow. They grow subtly, they grow mysteriously, they grow in the dark. And suddenly when they are ready to sprout, they come upon me as a surprise, like the first little leaf popping out of the ground. It's a miracle and a mystery, and I'm here for it. Just a short walk from Mevlana's tomb, Rumi's tomb, and the Mevlana Chami, the mosque, you will find the bazaar, a vast network of very well organized shops that sell absolutely everything you could need, from these gorgeous dried fruits to beautiful embroidered dresses of all variety. You can find different kinds of fresh roasted nuts like these. They smelled amazing, like those nuts that you'd find at the mall during Christmas time. There's household goods, shops full of glittering gold and silver, dozens upon dozens of places where you can find all sorts of scarves and different styles of clothing, from fancy to sweatpants and jeans. To be honest though, my favorite was these little shops full of little girls' princess dresses. There's just something so sweet and perfect about it. I loved them. And Athena, if you're watching, this dress is for you, babe. You can even find a mosque, at least one, hidden away in the bazaar, right next to another one of those fountains that I mentioned. Now on to what was probably my favorite stop in all of Konya, the Konya Archeological Museum. This is just the front entryway. When I walked in, there was a guy sitting under all of these grapes, and he gave me some of those grapes. The entry to this place is free. The front yard is just full of ancient gravestones. Seriously, come take a look. Here we have sarcophagi that are so old and intricate and well preserved. You guys know I have a thing for tombs, right? I mean, you probably picked that up by now. And this place just fulfilled all of those dreams. Like, look at the detail here. Look at these are thousands of years old, and they're totally unprotected. If I wanted to, I could lick a sarcophagi and taste what 2,000 years old tastes like. Probably not very good, I reckon. There's such an abundance of artifacts, from the sarcophagi to these beautifully detailed tile work pieces, that much of the stuff is just stacked up against the wall, as if it's waiting for someone to take it out with the refuse. It's just absolutely stunning to me, mind-blowing. I could nerd out with this stuff for ages. And the detail work in this particular carving is like nothing I've ever seen before on any of the other sites that I've visited. Whoa. About the Konya Archeological Museum is that much of the pieces are completely unmarked. A vast majority of the others have very basic information attached to them. And so a lot of it is just standing and ogling at what is there in front of you without any context. Is also quite a bit larger than I had anticipated. That was just the front room. This is the second room here with some old ceramics, again mostly unmarked, and you can see here we have the third room, more ceramics, a old bathtub, again thousands of years old, and bits of glass and jewelry and ornamentation from some time and somewhere around Turkey, probably around Konya. Your guess is as good as mine.
Do some research.
Here we have the fourth room in the Konya Archeological Museum, arguably my favorite, as it explores the Neolithic settlement of Çatalhöyük, which is located a bit southeast of present-day Konya. This settlement flourished in 7000 BC, so these artifacts are 9,000 years old. And as you can see from this picture here, this displays how they buried their families, which was underneath the living rooms of their houses. And this is what the settlement may have looked like when it was in its full power. It is thought that the society was matriarchal, or at the very least deeply equitable, based on the number of these figurines, as well as the way that they have found people to be buried. You see, this society, for the people of higher social standing, they would separate the heads from the bodies and bury them separately. And the number of skulls that they found of males buried separate from their bodies was roughly equitable to the number of skulls they found of females separated from the bodies. Another interesting burial thing to note is this particular excavation. I know it's difficult to see in this video here, and I apologize for the framing, but what we see here is a female skull which has been decorated and plastered over as if it was on display. So what they would often do with their wall decorations is that they would plaster it and then plaster again and again as things wore down. So this skull was on display in a place of honor, and when they excavated this body, they found a female skull. This is a female skull wrapped around another female skull with their foreheads touching. So these bodies were intertwined as if in a lover's embrace, put into a place of honor. I thought that was just beautiful, and it goes to show that we can all be kind and beautiful as well, whether it's 9,000 years ago or today. These round pieces of obsidian are essentially little hand mirrors. And what you see here are their arrowheads, also made out of obsidian. And I think it's very interesting that they made their mirrors out of the same thing they made their weapons from. I cannot get over this. Okay, think of it. This is 9,000 years old. Fingers, just like the ones on the ends of your hands, in theory, carved this. Not carved, but like their fingers were in this mud, created these designs. Can you imagine just running your own fingertips through those designs created by men and women so long ago, and yet so close to us, really, in the grand scheme of things? Handprints. 9,000-year-old handprints preserved on stone. I can't even, it boggles my mind, guys. Reached my final destination for the day, the Tile and Ceramics Museum, but it is apparently closed, and I don't know why, and I'm very sad because this is a big thing I was looking forward to. The artwork that is contained within these four walls is, I'm sure, just stunning. I mean, look at the artwork on its outside wall. Okay, I went and looked at the reviews online, hoping that they would give me some insight as to why it might be closed, and it said that the entrance is located behind the building. So we're gonna go check that out and see if there is a behind the building, or if I was behind the building. I don't know. I found it. I don't know what behind the building means. This seems like the front of the building to me. First thing we encounter upon entering is a tomb. This is where the man who built this madras, this school, used to be a school, is interred. Hope I'm not making you too dizzy with this shot. This is an interior dome in the Museum of Tile that is, you can see just tiny little pieces of tile all over the ceiling. Pretty incredible. The museum itself was not as, shall we say, stunning, I guess, as I had anticipated. This is a close-up of some of that tile work, but I'm still very glad that I made the effort to go. and to find my way inside. And I finished my day at etliekmek so that I could taste one of Konya's specialties, etliekmek. Apparently, I ordered this for lunch. It just keeps going. Okay. Okay, cool. Let's see. Because people seem to like these kinds of videos, and yeah, why not? Here's me eating my etliekmek. You should get this. Eat this. For sure. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe, and join me next week for my unplanned but super awesome return trip to Konya when I went to see Rumi's famous Whirling Dervishes. Ciao for now!